This is the Doc Nation podcast. We are a movement founded by doctors, for doctors, dedicated to empowering medical professionals to reclaim control over healthcare decisions and advocating for their fair share of the industry's resources. Please note, the views expressed are those of Doc Nation and not necessarily those of our guests or referenced health centers.
Hi, everyone. We have Jon Nichol on with us today for our podcast. We're going to try to keep these podcasts to about 15 to 20 minutes. We're not really good with time frame, but we're going to try to be as good as we can. We want you to join these podcasts or look at Doc Nation podcasts and say, hey, I got a 15, 20-minute drive. These guys aren't going to labor on forever. So thanks for joining, Jon. Jon is just getting off shift, just jumped out of the car and jumped into his seat behind the screen. So thanks, Jon. We appreciate you. Jon's been a signature member with us for over a year now. And we're doing some really, really cool things with Jon. We have some really fun ideas, doing a couple of things right now, and introduced him to some cool people here just recently. And so I'm excited about those things, but we're not going to discuss those things today. So without further ado, Justin, you can jump in with the questions.
Yeah, Jon, tell us about how you got into medicine and what your role is today.
So originally, when I think about, my very first experience with medicine, it was doing CPR on a patient. I was like 18 years old or something at a Dairy Queen, and somebody runs in and says, "Help, does anybody know CPR?"
Oh, wow.
I did my BLS training, had a CPR class in Boy Scouts or something, and went over and did CPR for a minute, and it was the wildest rush I've ever had in my life. I mean, shook me and changed me in so many ways, and it was okay, now I have to really think about this. And so from that moment on, I started down the path of, okay, I think I want to do this. Took a first aid class, took an EMT class, got a job as an EMT in an emergency department. Loved it, loved the people. I mean, it's a family in the hospital a lot of times, and that led me into medical school, and here I am.
That's awesome. I think,
Jon, we've been working with you for over a year, and I guess we didn't ask that question. That's an awesome question. I just wanted to say for the listeners real quick, it's cool. That's the whole thing about providers is it's a heart posture thing. It's never a money focus. It's how do we serve other people? I got full body chills thinking about your experience at Dairy Queen. This isn't a guy who just sits on the couch. This guy is preparing for a 100-mile race. 100 miles.
More than that.
What is it?
So always preparing for different races. My next race is 50 miles, then maybe a 100-mile race, and then in May, a 250-mile race.
250.
So when he says it's the greatest rush of his life, helping that person in Dairy Queen, that's saying something, is my point.
Yeah, I was going to echo that statement, Reid, when you said people don't get into medicine for the money. It's usually a story like that, wanting to help people, wanting to do more. It's really a calling. So, Jon, thanks for sharing that story. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was very influential for me.
And then tell us about your role today.
So currently I'm practicing as an emergency physician in Salt Lake City, Utah. I work strictly nights. And I actually kind of like that. Some people don't understand that, but that's why I just got off a shift right now is worked overnight last night and working in the emergency department. I mean, it's always crazy. It's always something. It's, had a patient last night just start yelling at everybody. So you never know what you're gonna see and deal with. And a lot of times we're dealing with complex medical situations, but in the emergency department, a lot of times we get to deal with social situations, and we always see mental health patients, and we always, try and do what's best for the patient and getting them to the best care that's possible. And often I'm in the role of helping people navigate the very complex healthcare world, health insurance, physicians' offices, inpatient, outpatient, what treatment is needed next. And the emergency department, we're often considered the jack of all trades, but master of none. And I wear that with a badge of honor. I can talk to any consultant about their job, and I can talk to them about the most exciting parts of their job, because that's the parts that I usually deal with. And
Mhm.
I love it. It's a profession like nothing else. And I tell staff and everybody, we have the weirdest job in the world and we have the best job in the world, because we get to do some amazing things.
That's really
Awesome.
cool. Yeah. So how long you been doing it now?
I graduated medical school 2016, graduated residency 2019, so my 5th year.
5th year.
Just
Okay.
started my 6th year out of residency.
Okay.
So.
What are you seeing as you've been doing this for that long? What's happening in healthcare from your perspective in terms of how it affects you, supports you, how patient care is happening? Like, what are you seeing? Things are going in a good direction, like going in a bad direction? Like, what's your overall take on it, and how would you assess it?
I think I'm in a pretty unique situation. I'm not unique to myself, but the 5-year mark out of residency seems to be kind of an interesting spot where I feel like I have, enough experience and education and understanding of the system and where I am to know I'm comfortable. I know the system well enough to navigate everything, and I've also been through some of the changes and the recent changes, and I can see the outlook. And I mean, it's hard to say that it's good. I think there are a lot of people that want to do good within the system, but ultimately it's crumbling around us, and we're trying to put the pieces back together while it's falling apart. It's not just building the ship as we sail, it's build and repair the ship as we sail through choppy waters. Like it's hard to put into words sometimes, just because it is so chaotic, and it's hard to imagine what it either should be or even could be. And there's often what I think is there just has to be a better way, because the way that we're going right now is towards complete failure.
What? Tell us about that. Like, why do you say that? Like, can you give us an example
Well,
of something that you're seeing?
it's just a system that's not built to treat patients like humans. They're treated and it's a complex system, and health is complex and healthcare is complex, but it's really not built in a way that is driven towards the health of people and helping people live a healthy life.
If it's not for that, then what is it? What is it directing people toward?
Well, it's ultimately it's directing the majority of patients towards a system of chronic health that leads to payments to a broad kind of spectrum of corporations, basically.
Got it.
So you have, and it just gets more and more complex. You have hospital corporations, you have pharmaceutical corporations, you have health insurance corporations, and all of them are trying to get a piece. And the one piece that I think about the most, being a physician, is the physicians, and how without physicians there is nothing. And if you could take nurses out of the equation completely. Okay, we can figure something out there within the hospital system, and ordering and getting things done. You could take respiratory therapists out, you could take physical therapists out, and the system would still work. But ultimately, if you take physicians out of this system, it's done. It all falls on the physician. And then as a physician, to me, it all falls on my individual interactions with patients, one-on-one. And within that one-on-one moment, I'm trying to create a connection and a relationship with somebody, but there are 20 other people on that periphery that are all trying to get a piece of that. I'm trying to create a connection with the patient about their health, and everybody's trying to create a connection with that patient and their wallet. And it's just fundamentally wrong.
Yes.
That was well put.
Yeah,
So
and I have a follow-up question to that as a physician as well. Do you think, and I might be leading the witness here, do you think the physician being that center point of medicine, which I agree with you with, I always make the analogy that they're like the player in the football game. You can't have the game without the player. Do you think the physician has how much power compared to the other 20 people in the room does a physician have in decision-making ability or in the day-to-day life of even themselves and their patient?
Well, I think that's been whittled away so carefully and slowly over time that I think a lot of physicians don't see where they don't have that anymore. And I think it was all brought, if I think back in the short history of medicine that I can either have had myself or know of from other people and older physicians, everything kind of got outsourced as this way to make the physician's life better. Oh, we'll do this for you and it'll make your life better. And what we have had happen through that is we've kind of sold off our control along the way with the auspice and the ideal of your life is, you know, pretty crazy as a physician and you work crazy hours and are on call or all these things. But somebody came from the side and said, I can make your life easier. And we all said, yeah, sure. I love that idea. And we did it too many times. So we've lost control of every step along the way. We've lost control of billing in a lot of ways. That's outsourced to a coding and billing company. And honestly, I don't even know what's billed under my name most of the time. And
it's not taught anymore. No one knows.
No, it's not. Correct. 100%. And that's such a problem that I see. And so, yeah, that loss of control from the physicians, if we're going to be the quarterback of this team, but we don't know the play that we're running, like it doesn't make sense.
Do you see a fix for this, or any ideas for a fix?
So yeah, I think about that all the time. I think physicians, from my perspective on what I would like to see happen, and it doesn't fix everything, but I think physicians need to be in control of hospitals. I think that's a very big step. We lost control of hospitals as physicians. We let that get taken from us. I don't remember the bill, but there are some legislative things that happened along the way where physicians used to own and operate hospitals. And I think there were some bad actors within that kind of gave us all a bad name. And there was some, you know, some shady business there. But physicians can no longer own hospitals in certain states, from what I understand. And
in the country. Yeah,
in the whole country, you can't own a hospital. And yeah, so there's problems there. But without owning the hospital, I think we need to be in the leadership of hospitals. I get emails and notifications and everything from CEOs of hospitals who are telling me in their polite way how to do my job. They have no medical training. They have no understanding of what it's like to work at 3 a.m. in the emergency department with a patient having a crisis or yelling at everybody or dying, and I'm there trying to save them. I'm the only one there. They don't understand that. They don't understand what any of that is like, what the training was like, going through years of residency, working all of those hours. And then they come to me and say, oh, hey, you're late on this chart that needs to be done 2 days ago. And sure, yep, I should probably be a little bit more on top of my charts and getting them done on time. But I don't want you to tell me to do that. I need to know that for myself, and I do know that for myself. But to come from that perspective and tell me that means so little to me. If it were another physician to come to me and say, hey, we all need to get our charts done on time. Sure, I totally understand that. But I have a I don't want to say it that way. I was going to say I have very low respect for all hospital CEOs.
Well, I think
I don't.
you're getting that. No, I think you don't have low respect for the hospital CEOs. Is you have more respect for the people that have gone to what I call the fraternity of medical school residency, and you'd like to see one of those people in charge, overseeing what's going on with the physicians. I think we all.
Yeah, I think that's a key. I don't know that necessarily solves the problem, but
it's a big step forward.
It would be, and I think for physicians' well-being, I think it would make a huge difference.
If you think about every single professional sport, and you look at the amount of coaches who have never played the sport themselves, you will see that number is close to 0. In healthcare today, administration is 95% business people and 5% medical professionals. That is absolutely insane. And if that number can be flip-flopped in some fashion, and I'm not even saying flip it to 95-5 the other way, I'm saying something like 50-50.
Let's go there.
50-50 would be a gigantic change.
Huge.
And so, John, you said something that I think is really, really, really important, where maybe patients would be like, well, that doctor won't take the advice of someone who is doing their job. No. Here's the thing. This is how I think about it. It's like a guy who just got done, guy or gal who just got done fighting a battle in a different country, a war. And they have a very difficult time talking to anybody else about it besides the people they were in the war with. That is exactly what you're saying. That's the only thing that you're saying. And there's just a level of understanding that people who don't go to war won't ever understand what it's like to go to war. So it's a waste of my time to talk to them about it. And we have to respect that. The reverence for that alone right there has been lost. Mm-hmm. And so the main rub now is you have all these other corporations getting in between you and the patient. And that's why healthcare is in the dumps.
20 tentacles coming in on each patient. Like, come on.
Yeah. I think, John, you made some really good points and said them extremely well. And honestly, in 15 minutes here, you've described the problem. And even we know what the fixes are. Let the physicians have more control. Not all control. We don't want all control, but let us have more control of the patient's outcomes, the day-to-day life of the physicians, what goes on in the hospital. And you still have the CFO there who's a business guy to make sure we don't go off the rails with money spending and all that. But make it more of a collaboration instead of a up-down approach.
I'll end with this. You know who should be most excited about that focus and that direction? The patient, not the physician, not even the physician, the patient. Now the doctor who's going to come save my life is thinking about me and me alone. That's it. What would healthcare be like if that was it? Mm-hmm. Jon Nichol, fantastic 15 to 20 minutes, man. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. You literally just got done with a night shift and jumped on, and these are the kind of people at Doc Nation. We here have a reverence for you and a respect for you. Go get some sleep, man. Don't go run. Don't go train 15, 16 miles. Go get some rest. Thank you so much.
Maybe later.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Have a great night, John.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Later.
This has been the Doc Nation podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening to us. Your feedback really helps us reach more listeners like you. We'd also love to hear your thoughts and any topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and to join the conversation. Thanks for listening.